Vanessa Cole did not do small talk. She did not do delays, and she absolutely did not do middle seats. But there she was, seat 24B, sandwiched between a snoring elderly man on her left and a quiet stranger on her right, because her assistant had booked the wrong flight, and this was the last one leaving Denver before the storm rolled in. She had a board meeting in New York in 14 hours. She had 47 unread emails. She had a headache forming behind her left eye that no amount of sparkling water was going to fix. She was Vanessa Cole, 38 years old, CEO of Eris Solutions, a logistics technology company with operations in 9 countries. Forbes had called her relentlessly focused. Her competitors called her worse things. She called herself practical. She pulled out her laptop, balanced it on the tray table, and got to work. The man on her right said nothing. She appreciated that more than he would ever know. It was only when the flight attendant came by and asked if the little girl needed anything that Vanessa finally looked up. The child was perhaps 5 years old, sitting on the man's lap, fast asleep, her tiny head resting against his chest. She had curly hair tied into 2 uneven pigtails, and she was clutching a stuffed elephant whose trunk had seen better days. The man shook his head gently, careful not to wake the girl. He had dark circles under his eyes, the kind that come not from one bad night, but from many. His shirt was clean, but wrinkled. His shoes were scuffed. He looked like someone who was holding everything together through sheer will alone. Vanessa looked back at her screen. Somewhere over Kansas, the turbulence started. It was mild at first, a gentle rocking that most experienced travelers ignored. But then the plane dipped sharply, and several passengers gasped, and the little girl on the man's lap stirred and whimpered. Vanessa gripped the armrest. She was not afraid of flying. She was simply not fond of variables she could not control. The man wrapped both arms around his daughter and whispered something into her hair. The girl settled again. He exhaled slowly. Vanessa found herself watching him do this and felt something she could not immediately name. 3 hours into the flight, the combination of 2 sleeping pills she had taken before boarding, the hum of the engines, and 72 consecutive hours without real sleep finally caught up with Vanessa Cole. She did not mean to fall asleep. She especially did not mean to fall asleep on the shoulder of the stranger next to her. But that is exactly what happened. She woke to the sound of soft breathing that was not her own, and it took her 3 full seconds to understand what she was looking at. Her head was resting on the man's shoulder. Not barely, fully, completely, like she had been there for a while. Her laptop had gone to sleep. Her neck was warm. She jerked upright. "I am so sorry," she said, and it came out louder than she intended because 2 passengers in the row ahead turned around. She lowered her voice. I apologize." The man looked at her. He had kind eyes. Tired, but kind. "It's okay," he said, simply. "It is absolutely not okay. I invaded your personal space entirely." She opened her mouth to argue, because arguing was what she did best, and then she stopped. Because the little girl was awake now and staring at Vanessa with enormous brown eyes, completely unafraid, in the way that only small children stare at strangers, openly, curiously, without a single layer of social filter. "Your hair is pretty," the girl said. Vanessa blinked. "Thank you. It's like my doll's hair. Her name is Patricia." That's a very dignified name for a doll. The girl considered this seriously. She's a dignified doll. The man laughed then, a quiet, genuine laugh, the kind that comes out when something catches you off guard. And Vanessa felt the tension in her shoulders release a little, without her permission. "I'm Marcus," he said, extending his hand across his daughter's sleeping elephant. She shook it. "Vanessa." "I know," he said. "You had your email open earlier. The signature. She almost smiled. Occupational hazard. I'm Lily, the girl announced, not wanting to be left out. Hello, Lily. Are you important? Lily asked. Lily, Marcus started. It's all right, Vanessa said. She looked at the child. Some people think so. My daddy is important, Lily said with absolute certainty. He makes the best grilled cheese in the world. And he knows how to fix my music box when it breaks. And he always checks under my bed, even when he's really tired. Marcus said nothing. He was looking out the window. Vanessa looked at him too. She's right, she said quietly. That does sound important. He turned back, and there was something in his expression she recognized, though she could not have said why. The particular look of someone who has been running so long they forgot people could see them. They talked for the rest of the flight. Not about anything significant at first. Lily dominated most of the early conversation, explaining the complete biography of the stuffed elephant, whose name was Gerald, and who had apparently survived a washing machine incident that she described with great dramatic flair. Marcus filled in context with the ease of someone who had told this story many times and still found it funny. Vanessa had not laughed this much in months. She was aware of this while it was happening, which made it feel both wonderful and quietly sad. Eventually, Lily fell asleep again, and the conversation shifted. Marcus told her they were heading to New York to visit his mother, that he tried to make the trip every few months, that it was harder since his wife had passed away 2 years ago. He said it plainly, without asking for anything, just a fact he was laying down carefully, the way you set down something fragile. She would have loved New York in the fall, he said. She was always trying to get me to move there. I'm more of a wide-open spaces person. Where do you live now? Outside of Denver. We have a house with a yard. Lily has a tire swing. He glanced at his daughter. It seemed important that she have a yard. Vanessa thought of her apartment in Manhattan, 41st floor, floor-to-ceiling windows. Not a yard in sight. You're doing a remarkable job, she said, and she meant it in a way she rarely meant things she said quickly. He looked a little surprised. Some days, he said. Other days, I burn the grilled cheese. She'd never know the difference. She already thinks you're the best in the world. He was quiet for a moment. She's the reason I get out of bed, he said, on the mornings when it's hard to. Vanessa did not have a response for that. Not a real one. So she said nothing. And somehow that was the right thing, because he didn't seem to need one. When the pilot announced their final descent, Lily woke up and immediately requested a snack. And the spell, if that was what it was, broke naturally and gently, the way good things sometimes end. At baggage claim, they stood waiting on opposite sides of the carousel. Lily had fallen asleep again, this time over Marcus's shoulder, Gerald the elephant dangling from one small fist. Vanessa watched them, a man who checked under beds when he was tired, who drove to New York every few months so his daughter could see her grandmother, who sat quietly on airplanes and let exhausted strangers sleep on his shoulder and didn't make it strange. She thought about the board meeting tomorrow, the 47 emails, the Forbes profile scheduled for next month, where they would ask her about sacrifice and ambition and what it cost to build something great. She thought she might finally know what to say. Marcus spotted his bag and reached for it carefully, shifting Lily's weight with the practiced ease of someone who had done it 1,000 times. It was good to meet you, Vanessa Cole, he said. You too, she said. And then, because she was a practical woman, and practical women did not let moments pass them by, she added, I hope New York treats you well. I hope your meeting goes the way you need it to. She smiled. I hope so too. He walked toward the exit. Lily's hand, even in sleep, found the back of his neck and held on. Vanessa stood at the carousel long after her bag came around. Her phone buzzed. Her assistant. Reminders. Logistics. The machinery of her life humming back to life. She picked up her bag. She walked outside into the cold New York air. And for just a moment, before everything resumed, she stood on the sidewalk and looked up at the sky, the same sky the plane had just come through, and thought about a little girl who named her doll Patricia, and a man who knew that yards mattered, and the strange specific grace of being reminded at 38,000 feet that the most important things rarely make it onto a to-do list. Then she put her headphones in, hailed a cab, and went back to her life. But something quietly had shifted, and she did not try to fix it.